Here is another crazy story for the channel. People, think hard when you want to get back together with someone who betrays you. Just saying. Here we go. My wife and I were married for 24 years. Guys, I never saw anything. I didn't see any red flags, or maybe I just missed them. But then she did something that made me raise my eyebrows. She confessed to me that her best friend confessed to her that she was cheating on her husband, and my wife thought it was okay not to tell him. I think that's a tough spot to be in. Your friends want you to keep a secret that could potentially break up a marriage. What would you guys do? We got into a heated discussion about that, but then she said it wasn't our business to interfere. For context, my wife works as a bank teller and has been for the last 16 years. Before that, she worked at a pet shop that closed down. I am a regional manager for a tire store, but I also co-own an apartment complex with 3 other investors. You could say we're doing okay. My wife is 47 and I am 50. We don't have kids together, but she has a daughter from a previous relationship. There's a lot of content going around on the internet telling men not to get involved with single mothers. But let me ask you, at what age and time does that become irrelevant? Fast forward 3 weeks, we were out at a restaurant and my wife receives a text from her friend. But then my wife says, I need to make a phone call, and goes outside. She was outside on the phone for an hour, and right when I was going outside to confront her, she walked back in. That doesn't make sense. She could have easily talked right in front of her husband if that was her friend, or better yet, just ignored the text altogether. I confronted her about making the phone call while we were having dinner, and we got into a huge fight. I was too pissed at her response after confronting her. Something happened later that has never happened in our relationship. We went to bed angry at each other. The morning after, she left the house without saying anything to me. Didn't tell me she was leaving, didn't say I love you or anything. On my way to work, I tried calling her, but she didn't answer and it went straight to voicemail. Fast forward 4 days, my wife sent me a text telling me she was going to stay at work and do some inventory because it needed to be done. I didn't have a problem with it, but I thought it was odd because she always delegated that task to someone. But I thought she probably was helping out one of the store managers. But 1:37 a.m. rolled around and my wife wasn't home yet. I didn't call or text. I just went up there, but I didn't see her car parked anywhere in the parking lot. You know what I'm going to say. Situations like this can be easily avoided. One is after 1 in the morning. She has a husband at home. She could have easily called him or texted him and let him know, but she didn't. So driving home, a million scenarios are going through my mind. Why didn't she call or text me? And where is she? At 3:19 in the morning, she came home. And when she made it to the bedroom, I went off on her. She apologized and said her phone died and she didn't have access to a charger. I threw my hands up and told her that was bullshit. But then she gets angry and tells me she is a grown woman and her father has since passed. Men, when your woman starts talking like this after a confrontation, you better start paying attention if you are not already. But something strange happened on the way to work. My car broke down, had it towed, and had to get a rental, but I didn't tell my wife. So, at the end of the day, I go home and my wife isn't home. I immediately get back into the rental car and drive to her job. Lo and behold, her car is in the parking lot. So I went in and her store manager told me she wasn't there. I told her that her car was out there, and what she did next was shocking. She gave me a shoulder shrug, like, I don't know. I went back to my car just thinking a little bit about where she might be. I didn't know where else to turn, so I went back to my car and just zoned out for a minute. See, this man is going through all these mental gymnastics just to find out where his wife is. Why though? Suddenly, I see this Buick with new car tags pull up next to my wife's car. She gets out, walks around, and kisses the driver. The driver then gets out, hugs her, and they kiss again. I bolt over there and confront her. The guy jumps in and we are yelling back and forth. Then we both started shoving each other while my wife is screaming in the background. The cops were called because some innocent bystanders witnessed all of it. No one was arrested. I went home and packed a bag and went to a hotel. My wife has been blowing up my phone and I simply told her to leave me alone. Some men won't just throw away 24 years, even if they are not at fault, as in this case, but some men will become indifferent immediately. While in the hotel, I called a few divorce attorneys to see what divorce would look like for me. We reside in South Carolina. After talking to one of the attorneys, he asked me about finances and children. I indicated that the only issue we would have would be the house, and then he asked me why I wanted to divorce. I began to tell him that I saw my wife kissing another man, got into an altercation, and the cops were called. The attorney told me I could file for a no-fault divorce or a fault-based divorce. I didn't want to do a no-fault divorce because we would need to live apart and someone would have to be a witness to that. So the only option would be an at-fault divorce, but I didn't have any proof, just what my eyes saw. Yeah, in most of these at-fault divorce states, you will have to provide proof that your spouse was cheating. Fast forward 1 week and I go home to get some clothes, worried if my wife would be there. But when I get home, the house was empty and there was a note on the kitchen counter saying she didn't want anything from me. I could have the house and she would be filing for divorce. The first thing I did was make a copy of that just to be safe and put it in my briefcase. So I immediately called the attorney and scheduled an appointment for the next day. Fast forward a week, I have filed for divorce and have not heard from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Yeah, most women wouldn't walk away from a marriage that long, but it sounds like she may have checked out mentally and just didn't care. But then, 4 days later, my soon-to-be ex-wife sent me this long text asking to meet and talk. I never responded to her. I never heard from her after that. My wife was served with divorce papers at her sister's house. A month and a half later, we had the divorce hearing, and my soon-to-be ex-wife showed up. And the strange thing is, she didn't have an attorney. But then she asked the judge if she could order marriage counseling. I had my attorney decline that. I didn't want any damn marriage counseling after she cheated. The judge even asked me why I didn't want to participate in marriage counseling. I flat out, in my own words, that she cheated on me and I couldn't trust her at all. I just couldn't do it. The judge then ordered us to split the equity 50-50. She called it an equitable distribution. Right at that time, my wife started crying. Then the judge granted the divorce, and that was that. Yeah, sometimes the judge will order a couple to participate in marriage counseling before he grants the divorce, or if he hears from both spouses that they are working on the marriage. About 6 months after the divorce, we sold our home. A month later, I got a call from our daughter, who knew we were divorced and was sorry to hear that. But she told me something that surprised me. She indicated that her mom had just up and quit her job to move in with her AP. She said she didn't understand it. Apparently the AP has money. But not only that, her AP is 13 years younger than her. Well, her daughter even said she didn't think the relationship was going to last long term. Anyway, I just wanted to get my story out there. People were wondering why I threw away 24 years. Well, I didn't throw away a damn thing. She did. Thanks, Tone. I appreciate it. I will say this again. Not every man will react the same, especially when it comes to infidelity. Some men will simp, some won't. Remember that.